In my favorite scene in Vagabond, we see two pairs of hands and delicately clenched fists. One is perfectly manicured and the other crusted over with dirt. Throughout her films, Agnes Varda spotlights women who strive to both enjoy the pleasure of being the object of a loving gaze, while also trying to imagine themselves as subjects in the world. This tension is especially highlighted in two of Varda's most acclaimed works, CLEO from 5 to 7 and Vagabond.
Pauline Kael wrote in her review of CLEO from 5 to 7 that Agnes Varda's direction was one of the few instances where a woman directed a film and the viewer could actually tell the difference. Unlike her contemporaries of the French New Wave, Varda isn't blinded by romantic adoration for her actresses in the same way that François Truffaut or Jean-Luc Godard, who actually cameos in CLEO, were for their muses, who they often loved for their idiosyncrasies and flightiness, even though they never truly understood them as women.
Je ne suis pas une femme. Je suis une femme.
On the surface, the films could not be more different. CLEO from 5 to 7 explores the life of an ultra-feminine pop singer who fearfully waits for a cancer diagnosis from the doctor.
Vous êtes malade?
Oui.
Ah oui, vous voilà, la femme, Vénus Astarté. C'est sur vous la maladie.
Oui, moi.
Et là,
She shops, sings, visits cafes, exercises in a kitten-filled apartment, and visits her friend in an art studio.
Salut.
All the while being keenly aware of how her gorgeous figure and beautiful face are both a gift as well as a curse.
Oh, c'est agréable. Je me saoulerais d'essayer des chapeaux et des robes.
If CLEO is worshipped for her beauty and coquettish charms, she's also distrusted. Her fears about her illness are dismissed as childish and attention-seeking.
Autant dire que je suis morte déjà. Avec elle, c'est toujours drame et compagnie. Elle a pourtant ce qu'il faut pour être heureuse. Mais elle a besoin qu'on la protège. C'est une enfant.
Allons, madame, Cléo, ma petite fille.
But it's also worth noting that even though Varda clearly has sympathy for CLEO and the way she is misjudged by those around her, Varda also has the good sense to ground CLEO's story into the larger world. The camera often focuses wherever CLEO's eyeline is, which is understandably on images focusing on life and death in Paris. A street performer eating a live frog. A glass ruined by a bullet. A woman feeding a baby. CLEO's belief that being heard will make her feel more alive leads her to play her own music in a cafe and then observe the patrons' reactions. And everyone couldn't care less about the background music. They talk of Picasso, the then ongoing Algerian War, all the things that show the world once existed and will continue to exist without us.
Vagabond features a woman who is also defined by her appearance. Mona, a young female hitchhiker, often relies on her looks to inspire sympathy. But she is also vulnerable to the advances of men who harm her.
Autostoppeuse, d'accord. Mais les râleuses et les chieuses, moi je les vire de mon camion. Remarque, elle était mignonne.
Throughout the film, Varda also shows how many people are projecting their hopes, dreams, desires, and fears onto Mona. She inspires pity, lust, awe, sadness, disgust, and even longing.
J'aimerais mieux m'en aller. Cette fille qui est venue chercher de l'eau, elle était libre. Elle va où elle veut. Moi, j'aimerais être libre.
Many times Mona is viewed as a symbol more so than an actual person.
It's also very telling that the first time we see Mona, she is introduced in the most go-to way to objectify women, as a corpse, lying in a ditch. But Varda subverts this stereotype, first by immediately declaring in voiceover her own desire to get to know her own protagonist just a little bit better.
Cette morte de mort naturelle ne laissait pas de traces. Je me demande qui pensait encore à elle parmi ceux qui l'avaient connue petite.
And then by blurring the lines between objectivity and subjectivity. Mona's last few weeks are told largely by the people who helped her on the road, a structure lifted from Citizen Kane.
We were talking about the first Mrs. Kane.
What was she like?
She was like all the girls I knew in dancing school. Very nice girl, very nice. Emily was a little nicer.
Je regrette la Mona. Elle avait un sacré cul.
Yet these recollections also tend to bring out the worst in those who claims to have helped her. And by extension, society's indifference towards those it finds useless.
Cette tolérance, c'est l'erreur. Elle est inutile et en prouvant qu'elle est inutile, elle fait le jeu d'un système qu'elle refuse.
Or different.
Quand elle est montée dans la voiture, ça m'a suffoqué. Tout puait. Son duvet, son sac, elle, tout. Une crasse.
Or those that just can't understand.
C'est peut-être une criminelle en fuite, une malade mentale ou une droguée.
In some ways, it's amazing how little has changed in how women are presented on screen. Today's female protagonists are still navigating a world where they are seen as objects first and subjects second.
Well, I'd set a lunch, but I think a dinner would be better.
And warm them up first. Send a basket of pears to Marshall Fields. The one thing Dan likes is a nice pear.
The Lady Parts Project, for example, highlights sexism and misogyny in casting calls that focus almost exclusively on a woman's looks.
Principles. Seeking. Female. Real, honest, but not too butchy.
And as recently as February of this year, producer Ross Putman began tweeting casting calls for women, where the actual character names were replaced with the name Jane. These are depressingly reductive and sexist.
I am planning to walk across the Australian desert from Alice Springs to the Indian Ocean, a distance of 2,000 miles. When people ask me why I'm doing it, my usual answer is why not?
Maybe the closest modern-day equivalent to Vagabond can be found in other stories of young women solving their identity crises through solitary travel, such as Tracks or Wild. Although these films are commendable for showing young women capable of the physical and emotional depth usually reserved for male travelers, I still can't help but feel just a little bit disappointed that both films rely so heavily on voiceovers.
What do you like to do when you're not hiking, Cheryl? I like to sit on a real toilet and flush.
Flashbacks.
Sometimes I wonder.
Even sing-alongs to show their subjects' interior lives.
Will not lose this fucking track, or I'll end up in Delaware.
With Vagabond, Varda eschews all these tropes in favor of relying and believing Céline Bonner's complex and subtle performance to give us a full portrait of Mona against all the tapestries that everyone else paints of her.
Mais pourquoi vous avez tout quitté?
La route et le champagne, c'est mieux.
Varda's female protagonists may not always be portrayed as powerful, but her diverse female characters are presented with nuance and with a tremendous sense of purpose. Both CLEO and Mona emerge on screen as women with big existential questions.
Je ne peux même pas lire ma propre peur. Depuis 2 jours, je pense que tout le monde me regarde et moi je ne regarde personne que moi.
Who actively long to engage a world that often discounts them as mere pretty playthings, and allows both women to be seen as simultaneously brave as well as beautiful.
Toutes portes ouvertes en plein courant d'air. Je suis une maison vide sans toi, sans toi, comme une île déserte.